described as the godfather of conspiracy theories, but he's much more. I mean, he's considered really a guy of great knowledge, also because, as you know, he was a friend of the late Manly P. Hall, who gave him, at the end of his life, basically all his books. So, I mean, Jordan has also this thing, this very particular thing. Here we go with Jordan, and here we go with Colin. Welcome on the
Who is that guy?
Those guys.
I've seen him before. I know this guy.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you both on board today, Jordan. And how are you today?
Oh, I think okay. What about you?
Good. Moving around here in Palm Springs, but we are kind of setting up
Warm.
a studio.
You're getting warm?
Well, it's still warm here, and we enjoy it. And I think that it's great that we have the possibility of not using for the whole year any central heating system. I mean,
Yeah, right.
We have Colin, who is showing some kind of Trump puppet. What is this?
No, it's a talking figure. My favorite talking figure you can buy for 99 cents right there on Amazon.com, Amazon.Dutch, Amazon.Galactic. And Uncle Donald has a message for you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see that.
Controversial. You're talking about illegal immigration. I said it's illegal.
It's illegal, man. You guys are illegal right there now.
Jordan, what is your position regarding the latest events that surround Donald J. Trump?
I think Donald Trump is fighting world communism. And world communism is taking over the whole earth. And I think the Vatican is behind it. It wants to collect all the poor people of the world together and rape them all. Rape everybody. Take everything everybody's got and keep the poor people stupid and ignorant for the Lord who's coming to save the world, the Pope. Remember, the Pope is a Holy Father. Why? Because he talks to God. He's a Godfather. You get it?
Yeah. Actually, you amaze me, because you have just talked about the Lord that is coming back to save the world. So today, the topic of the show is the end times. And a lot of people said, but Jordan Maxwell doesn't believe in Jesus. What is the truth about this assertion, Jordan?
I believe, it's just my opinion based on my 60 years of looking at it, that Jesus is a metaphor, a symbolic metaphor that is representing something that's very important in the world. But when people look at Jesus as a physical man doing something in history, they're missing the point. The point is that Jesus represents the truth and the light. And he said, I am the truth and the light. And no man comes to the Father unless he comes through me. It doesn't mean you got to go through Jesus, the man. You got to go to Father and the God in heaven with the real truth, intellectually enlightened, real truth and light. You can't be stupid and in the dark and go as a religious goofball. You have to know what you're doing and understand the words and know how to find the great spirit that we call God the Father.
Now, Jordan, you know that, of course, this will open a lot of controversies from those who are more stubborn. The legacy of Jesus the man, but also Jesus the God, as an emanation of God. Do you recognize Jesus as an emanation of God?
Oh, of course I understand. I've been fighting it for all my life. I've been fighting it. I've been trying to tell people that's why the world is in the mess we're in today, is because you don't understand the words. You don't understand the history. You don't understand the actual facts of world history. There was no King Solomon. There was no King David. In point of fact, factually speaking, there was no ancient Israel. Israel never existed. It's
now,
a
this is very
story.
controversial, though, Jordan. You have to admit that your statement is very controversial.
Say it again.
It's very controversial, your statement, because I mean, saying that Israel never exists, it kind of like it's gonna make people jump on their chairs.
That's what we're told that Jesus did. That's what we're told that the prophets of Abraham did. They made people very scary. Nobody wanted to hear this new teaching. Nobody wants to hear it. The Jews of Moses' day, they didn't want to hear what Moses had to say. And all through the Bible, Jesus said, if they had listened to me, they would listen to you. They didn't listen to me, they're not going to listen to you. And so he was tried in the temple. They arrested him and tried him in the temple. That's what the side of your head is called, your temple. So he was tried in the temple, and he was found guilty in your mind. So that therefore, when they took him out to crucify him, they killed him in a place called Golgotha, skull place. You killed the truth and the light in your head, skull place. Golgotha. Why? Because you tried him in the dark, in the temple, in the dark. Why? Because you're in the dark. People are in the dark. They don't know how to read. They don't know how to think. They don't know where history comes from. They don't know shit. And so therefore, the Vatican and the state of Israel is nothing more than a German Nazi operation. Israel was set up by the Nazis, Gestapo, SS, Adolf Hitler. He set up Israel. Go on the web. There's a couple of good books. One's called 51 Documents. 51 Documents. You can buy it on Amazon. It's the 51 documents that Adolf Hitler signed with the state of Israel to set up the state of Israel with the Zionists. And the Zionism comes from Germany. That's where the word comes from. It's a German word from Nazism. Zionism is a German word. And so therefore the Zionists were Nazis and Germans. And when you go back and look at the German foundation of Israel, you will see all the top Zionists were also top Nazis, SS and Gestapo.
Now, Jordan, you understand that, of course, a lot of Jewish people here and people in Israel will be offended by being in any way accumulated or put aside somebody like the Nazis. What I can say is definitely that without Hitler, probably there wouldn't have been a state of Israel. That I can agree. Though you are going one step further here, because you are saying that it's right at the basis of this new state, that, however, was prophesied to be present in the end times. I mean, Israel was supposed to come together as a state in the end times. Don't you think so, Jordan?
Okay, let me tell you what I think. I think that the Old Testament was written in the AD, not in the BC. I don't think there was a BC religion at all. I think it's an AD religion, and that the same people, the Knights Templars in the Masonic Order of Knights Templars in the Catholic Church, wrote the Old Testament for the church to give the church a legitimate foundation to that they could say that they come from the old temple. They come from the old days when Jesus was here, so that the church can present to the world their credentials, that we come from the Jerusalem, we come from the old religion, and we're the new fulfillment of the old religion. Because if they don't have an old religion to show that they come from, then where the hell do they come from? Who cares about the Catholic Church? I mean, they don't mean from shit. Where do they come from? Well, they can go back and say, well, no, there was an ancient Israel and God's chosen people. And then when Israel fell, God chose us. And now we are the chosen people from God.
Jordan, Colin has been showing to our viewers the pages of a book that sees you involved called That Old Time Religion.
That Old Time Religion by
Yeah,
Jordan Maxwell Price.
When did you, who are the authors you put together this book with? Because I see there is another couple of authors together with you. One is called Paul Tice and the other one Alan Snow. Who are they?
Alan Snow has a PhD from Los Angeles. He's got a doctorate in the Dead Sea Scrolls. He did his doctorate work in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And in his books, he has many books out, Dr. Alan Snow, and he got his doctorate, his PhD in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and he was very close friends. He lives very close to the third doctor, the doctor who was on the Dead Sea Scrolls Commission in Israel. What was his name? The third one. The three men that were in charge of the...
Yes. Yeah, you can show us the book again, Colin, if you want, with the titles.
Yeah. Well, I was looking for some quotes here. Can you see there?
Yes.
That old-time religion?
Yeah, we can see it, but you're holding it too high.
Yes.
There it is.
When did you publish this book, Jordan?
I'm not sure. Back in the early 2000 or late 1999, something like that. Yeah, I think it was probably what is the look inside and tell me
2000.
what date was it published?
Published the book Tree Escondido, California, 2000.
Yes.
2000. That's what I thought. 2000.
So
2000.
You are basically putting through theories that are very controversial here, Jordan. But never mind the controversy that, of course, arises every time we are here on the home of controversy in the Leo Zagami show. We like controversy, so that's a pleasure.
All I'm doing is just suggesting that people hearing might possibly want to do some of their own homework and see if I'm right. And if I'm wrong, fine, then show me where I'm wrong. But for 20 years, I've been talking about this, but for 60 years, I've been doing the research. So the 20 years I've been talking about this, or the 25 years, I started talking about in the mid-90s, about how ancient Israel never existed. There was no ancient Israel. The entire story in the Old Testament about ancient Israel was actually talking about that area we call today Israel was called the land of Canaan. The land of Canaan. Today, the state of Israel is the basis for Canaanite religion. Israel is Canaan, the land of Canaan.
But Jordan, don't you think that this revolutionary character, we can debate on the fact that you can accept or not as God, as prophet, whatever, but did Jesus the man for you it's not a reality, Jesus the man? I mean, is this what I'm gathering from your...
What I'm saying is that Jesus, I believe, after 60 years of looking at this subject, I believe Jesus was not an actual person who lived, but he provided a symbolic metaphor, a symbol, which that symbol is the most important symbol the world has ever known. And that the Bible is telling you, quote, the greatest story ever told. It's not the greatest collection of historical facts ever assembled. No, it's the greatest story ever told. It's just a story. It never happened, but it's a symbolic story. And once you see it, once you finally see the symbolism, then it all begins to make sense. And then you say, oh, I see what the Bible is saying. Now I see it. Now I see. I never saw it before because I was taught how to think.
But when you about the other, we have mentioned the Christian faith, we have mentioned the Jewish faith. So what is your stand in regards to Islam?
Islam is lunacy. It's based on Hinduism. It's based on the ancient Greek gods, and that Allah is nothing more than the original ancient sun god who in the Arabic world became known as the moon god, because the Jews were worshiping the moon and the Arabs were worshiping the sun. And so the Arabs began to look at Allah as a moon god. Today, Allah is a moon god. He comes up in the east. If you're in Africa, North Africa, and you look across into the Sinai, every evening at 6 o'clock, the moon comes up from the Sinai, and that's what we're told that Allah, that represents Allah. That's why today Jews throughout the world have their holy days after sundown. Why do the Jews have a lunar calendar?
Now,
And their days start.
Jordan, sorry to interrupt you, but it could be also that Jesus had his own teachings, existed, but then with the Council of Nicaea came around, of course, Rome had to mix him up with a whole other bunch of things to make it acceptable as a state religion. Isn't that also?
Of course. But I'm just saying that the religion that Rome picked to make a state religion had already been around for thousands of years. It's already been around for thousands of years. I don't believe there was a Moses. I'm sure there was no Moses. There was no Abraham. We know there was no Abraham. So you can't have religions that were based on Abraham when there was no Abraham. Abraham goes directly back, the worship of Abraham goes directly back to India. If you understand the Hindus in India, Abraham was their god. And that's why today a high priest in Israel, the high priests in India are called Brahmins. But Abraham was not called Abraham in the Bible. He was called Abram, Abram.
So a Brahman. Okay.
Abram. Later on, God says he changed his name to Abraham. But that wasn't his name. Abram was his name. Now, A-B in the ancient Hindu and in the ancient world, A-B, Ab, was your father. And Ram was the god who was officiating over the world at that time. The Egyptian god, the Ram god.
So what is your point of view, though, Jordan, on the Priory of Zion or on any kind of possibility of a bloodline of Jesus?
No, I don't think so at all. No, I think that it is from Hollywood. I think that's Jews in Hollywood coming up with that idea. I don't think there was ever any Jesus, so there wouldn't be any bloodline from him. I believe that Jesus is a metaphor. And I think that when people start understanding for the first time what I'm saying, I'm not trying to say there was no good in religion, no good in Jesus at all. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you're looking at a very big story, but you're seeing it from the wrong angle. You need to look at it from a different angle. It's a metaphor, a symbolic story.
I understand what you mean. But in regards to the end times, we are talking also about a sort of prophetical approach to this day and age, which is foreseen by many different religions, not only the Abrahamic ones, even the Kali Yuga of the Hindu or other points of view. No? So what do you think in regards to the end times in particular that we are treating today?
I can't prove, but I feel very strongly that we humans on the earth are being led into our own destruction. Why? Because some people have incredible connections with the spirit world, and the spirit world is telling them to lead us into our final days. So I think we are in our last days of the world. But we're not in the last days of the world, because the very word in the Bible, in the New Testament, where Jesus said, go forth, make disciples, and I will be with you to the end of the world. That word world was wrong. That's an incorrect translation. The word in the Greek, in the original Greek, was I will be with you to the end of the aeon, A-E-O-N. And so the Bible translators in the Vatican translated Aeon as world. They were wrong. The word aeon is age, age. Therefore, we are living in the last age. We're living in the last times, the end times. The end times of what? The end times of the age in which we've been living. You hear the church talk about the church age, the prophetic age, and the apostle, the age of the apostles, and the age of this and the age of that. Ages being periods of time, 2,150 years apiece. There are 12 ages, and we're in
age of Pisces. We go into the age of Aquarius with different energies that are manifesting, of course, in front of us, Jordan. And
Yeah.
you have been yourself a testimony of this age from a very early start in your life. You went on the search of the truth. Now, we don't always agree, but we definitely have, of course, this faculty of agreeing to disagreeing.
Yeah, we can agree to be disagreeable. We don't have to be disagreeable. We can agree to disagree.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that from my viewpoint, I don't see the New Testament as history. And I do not see the Old Testament as history, because some of the words and the ideas and the terms and the thinking that's in the Old Testament, I know were Egyptian Gnosticism. The Apostle Paul was not a normal Christian. Apostle Paul was not a Christian. He was a Greek Gnostic. His words were Gnosticism. He talked about the Christ in you. That's Gnostic. He talked about the Christ, and he saw the Christ in a bright light, and it knocked him over on the ground. And Jesus said, "Why are you persecuting me?" All of that is Greek Gnosticism. It's a Gnostic text. And so when I hear people talking about the Apostle Paul, his name was Saul of Tarsus. He was a Greek philosopher, and he understood Greek Gnosticism. And so today he wrote most of the New Testament. Well, most of the New Testament is Gnostic from the ancient Greeks.
Though it's also true that the Pope has recently condemned Gnosticism once again as an heresy that, as you know, has been plaguing Christianity, for those who, of course, have a different point of view. Why all this criticism to times when Gnosticism is not really a threat, because only a few people are even capable of grasping it?
I still believe that the Old Testament was written in the AD. I don't think there was anything written in BC. BC, it doesn't make any sense to me that anything was written in the BC. There were things written in the BC, but it didn't have nothing to do with Judaism or the Jewish people. Nothing. Or the Israelite people.
So for you, the Jewish people are a bit like Gerald Massey said, coming from Egypt as part of those Egyptians who went towards a monotheistic faith like Akhenaton, no?
Yeah. And also, and I have all of Gerald Massey's books. For many, many years, I've gone through them. I know what you're talking about. I'm just saying that I believe that Jesus is a metaphor, and when you start to see how it all is put together, it all makes sense. How come Jesus had a virgin mother, and how come when Da Vinci was painting the Last Supper, on Jesus' right-hand side, there's a woman sitting right there. You have a woman as one of the 12 apostles. Why do you have a woman sitting next to Jesus at the table of the Last Supper? Because Da Vinci realized the story was a metaphor. It's a symbolic story, and you have to have
this female element that was pictured by this Mary Magdalene. What is the importance of this female element?
The similarity is that there's a woman sitting next to Jesus on his right-hand side. The woman is one of the constellations of the zodiac. The zodiac constellation of Virgo, Virgo the Virgin. And therefore Jesus is God's son, the light of the world. The sun is the light of the world, and next to him is sitting his mother, Mary. Mary is not Mary. Go back and read it. It's not Mary wrong. It's Mari, Mari. Mari means a virgin, a young girl and a young virgin is Mari. Mari means pure. So if you have actually pure water, it's called Mari water. Mari means pure. Why? Because it's a virgin. They have virgin oils, virgin cooking oil. They have virgin this, they have virgin that. It means it's pure, pure, pure. So therefore, God's Son, the light of the world, he's the light of the world. Of course, the Son is the light of the world. But I have had teachers, professors from Oxford University send me emails and telling me, Jordan, we heard about you talking about Jesus not being here, but he was a metaphor. And a lot of people are jumping on you because you are crossing S-O-N with S-U-N. But let me tell you something. They said, I teach English at Oxford University. There is a thing in English called the lazy O. Look it up in the dictionary, the lazy O. That means to teachers of English here in England, we understand what the word lazy O means. It means when they were translating and making the English language was dreamt up. It wasn't normal. We come up with a whole new language called English. And in the English language here at Oxford, I teach there is something called a lazy O, which means the original people who were putting the English letters, the English language together, they came across a problem. When you say sun, do you spell it S-U-N or S-O-N? And he said the idea was that the people who put the English letters, the English language together, they didn't know the difference and they don't care. So they said, leave it alone. A and E and I and O and U, A-E-I-O-U, you can use either one of them. So you can either use S-U-N or S-O-N. It don't matter. It's the same word. And so in German, in the German language, the sun that comes up in the morning is spelled S-O-N. But in English, it's S-U-N. And in German, like I said, it's S-O-N. They call it S-O-N-N-E, sunny, S-O-N-N, is the morning sun. And so therefore, who owns the sun? That's the way I usually start my lectures, by saying, who on the earth owns the sun? Is there somebody?
I hear you talking about lectures. You are actually delivering your last lecture ever next year in my presence in Nevada. I'm very honored that I'm going to be present. How comes you decided that this is your last lecture, Jordan?
Because at 80 years old, I can't sleep. I'm on sleeping pills. I am broke. I am sick. I can't sleep. I can't walk. I don't see very well. I have to have hearing aids. They just hear. And I know that I have spent 60 years working around the clock, talking to all the experts, reading and studying and traveling around the world, collecting information, talking to people, and I just feel it. I know I'm not going to be here much longer. I know that. I can feel it. So that's why I told Bob Brown, who's putting this event on, Bob, this will be my last lecture. I'm just too old to travel. If I travel, I'm not going to be able to sleep. I got to bring a bunch of sleeping pills with me. And I don't even know if I'm going to be able to make it because I'm so sick right now. But if I do stay alive,
I
if
hope you
I
make
do,
it, Gordon. We will be praying that you make it, and I'm going to make sure that you make it. I want at least to meet you for once in person, not only via internet or by phone.
yeah, well, I appreciate it.
It
I
will be
appreciate I appreciate you saying nice things about me. You talked about me before, and I heard you, and I thank you for that. And I know that I am controversial, and I know that. But I also know so was Jesus controversial. Yeah, so were the apostles a little controversial. So were the ancient prophets of the Bible. They were a little controversial.
Well, I
So
mean, I said once, not so long ago, that without controversy, there will not be any Old or New Testament, because it's all about controversies, if you think about it.
that's right. The whole thing is controversial.
You know, it will be
The
just
whole thing is controversial. The very idea of God is controversial because I ask people, when you talk about God, my teachers told me many years ago, when you're talking before an audience, always define your terms. When you say something, think about it. Other people may have a different idea about what you're saying. When you say you should love your fellow man, what does that mean? Love. You're talking about man and woman love. You're talking about love of children. You're talking about the love of the animals, the love of the world. What are you talking about? Love. Love your enemy. Most people don't love their enemy. They kill their enemy. So what are you talking about? Love. And so when you say God is love, that's wrong. It's not God is love. It's God is Jove, Jove. Jove is the name that the Romans gave to Jupiter.
Jupiter.
He was the king of the gods, Jove. It's Jove, not Love. It's not Love, it's Jove, Jove, not God is love. That doesn't make any sense. God is Jove, God is Jupiter. Why? Because Pitar, Pitar, was an old Arabic term for God, was Pitar, and Pater, Pater, was what was it? One of the ancient cultures. The word Pater was God. So therefore, if you look in the dictionary, look in the old dictionary, under the Oxford Dictionary of the English language, look up the word Jew, Jew, and it would tell you originally it was not spelled Jew. It was originally spelled IOU, was the word Jew, or IU. It became known as IU. Was Pater, Patar, was the father.
Yep.
And so the Jews were worshiping God the Father, so he became known as Iu Pater, the Jewish father. But I's and J's were interchangeable, so it became Jehu Pater or Jupiter. Jupiter is the Jewish God who gives us judicial, judges, jury, judicial. And so therefore,
your points of view seem to be actually closer to some Masonic points of view that we have seen outlined in the past by people like Manly P.O. that you were related to in your work.
yeah.
Why didn't you ever really join the Masons and so have an audience that could receive certain teachings maybe with the more open mind?
You're right. You're right. I could, but I didn't, and I wouldn't. I really loved Mr. Hall, and I really respected him, and he was my personal friend. I used to go to his home. I loved Mr. Hall because he never promoted any religion of any kind. What he did was explain for young people to understand what the different religions taught, what the different people believed. He did that. He never said anything about this is the way to believe. This is the true religion. He never did that. He just showed you all the different religions and ideas in the whole world, where they came from, what they mean, what the words meant, and let you decide which one makes sense to you, if any of them. But he was just a great and wonderful teacher, and I love that about him, because I could learn so much about the world from him. He was a great master teacher. And he had taught about Babylon, the Babylonian religion, the Sumerian religion, the Romans, the Latins, all the different gods and churches and religions of
Now
the world.
you have focused a lot on the Phoenicians and then the maritime law and the Venetians as this kind of backbone to the society we are living today.
Yes, yes.
I recently saw you cited also in a video, I think it's from a couple of years ago, probably 3 years ago, by KRS-One, which is a famous hip-hop producer. What is your take on the fact that we are enslaved by this whole system, which basically in the end has always the Vatican as its originator?
That's right. The Vatican is nothing more than the Holy Roman Empire today. And the strong arm of the Vatican is the United States. The U.S. is the arm of the new Roman Empire. Because when Rome moved into Britannia, when Caesar took over all of Europe, he moved finally across the water into Britain. And when he moved into Britain, he set up his government in Britain. And where was the government of Britain set up for the Romans? They used the city of York, England. And this is why today we have something in America called New York. And New York is based on New England. New York is the Empire State. We'll call it the Empire State. Why? Because it is the empire of Rome. It's the Roman Empire has come to America, and they are in New York. And that's why today all the most important politicians and everybody all go to Rome to bow down and kiss the Pope's ring, because he's the godfather. He talks to God, so he's a godfather.
So now the Godfather is in Rome. He is carrying on this synod of the Amazon region in an effort to really support what the globalists have been pushing for years. What's your take on Pope Francis and this fight for the environment, alleged fight for the environment?
Yeah. The Pope today, I do not believe Pope Francis is the Pope. It's just my thought. I don't think he really is the Pope. Why? I think it's because the original Pope, Benedict, cannot be Pope because of his connections with the pedophilia and the sexual trash that was going on in the church. And I don't think the Pope was getting ready to be arrested. There was so much bad publicity about Pope Benedict being part of this pedophilia and criminal stuff going on in the Vatican, that the real powers that are behind the Vatican, it's not religious, I'm talking about the real powers behind the Vatican. They probably suggested to the Pope, you might want to step down for the moment and get out of the way, because they're coming after you. The world is coming after you. You better step down and let us take care of this.
And that's when Ratzinger was forced by the Jesuits, of course, to work on behalf of the upper echelons of the system to put him aside.
That's right, exactly. Put him aside right now because he's too big a problem. You better get rid of him. But you can't get rid of him because he's still alive and he is the Pope. And so he can step down, but very few times has the Pope ever decided to step down, because people who are very, very powerful don't like stepping down. people who are very important and very powerful.
Here about upper echelons of the, let's call them the Illuminati, the New World Order, something that is, of course, even more powerful than the Jesuits. The Jesuits have been very powerful, very diligent, but they are only 5 centuries old. They're only, so it's not like they were alive 2,000 years ago or 4,000 years ago. That's what the people need to understand. The Jesuits have been founded by Ignazio Loyola relatively recently in history, but of course they have had a dominant role because Ignazio Loyola vehicled these techniques also of prayers, of meditation from the East, mixing them with elements of magic that he of course called the Ignazio Loyola spiritual exercises. Did you ever have the opportunity to study them, Jordan?
Yes, I have been talking to Jesuit scholars, and I travel all around Europe, and I've listened to and read a lot of articles about the ancient, what people we call the original Jesuits, and the history of the Jesuits reminds me of the history of the mafia, because the mob has not been around very long either. They've only been around about 500 years, but they dominate America. They dominate. I can't see my speaker I'm talking to because of the pictures.
No worries, no worries.
The mafia dominates Washington, D.C. They run Hollywood. They run international banking.
And that's why we have Nancy Pelosi, because she's from the Gambino crime syndicate. I mean, she was born in it.
That's right, exactly. So that's why. But the mafia hasn't been around but about 200 or 300 years. It's not 1,000 years old, but it's very powerful because they mean to do what they're doing, and they know what they're doing, and they're ruthless. They don't care about human life. They only have one thing in mind, that is to do what they're doing, whether you like it or not, and they will kill you if you get in the way. Well, that's the way you get political power, and so that's what I'm saying. The church, through the ages, has shown that it will do anything to take over power. So remember, the Roman Catholic Church has dominated Europe for about 1,600 years.
Leo, let me ask a question just watching.
Sure.
We are in October, Scorpio, sun is waning down. Tell us a little bit about the story, because just, to link it up with the other one you were telling about the kiss of death and Scorpio and Jesus. This is very nice. Now that we're in October, it's like Scorpio, star sign going on, and Judas Iscariot and Scorpio has something to do with that, the mafia thing and the kiss of death, right, Jordan?
Yes. If you want to understand where Christianity came from and where Rome got the idea to promote something they call Christianity, you need to understand the 12 signs of the zodiac and how it works around the year, from one point of the year around to the same point the next year. There are 12 signs in the zodiac, or 12 months of the year. The 12 months of the year, or the 12 signs of the zodiac, represents the 12 tribes of Israel, or the 12 brothers of Joseph, or the 12 stones on the breastplate of the high priest, or the 12 apostles. Everything in the Bible is in 12. Why? Because there's only 12 signs of the zodiac. There's only 12 months of the year.
Now, this was very important also for Giordano Bruno. What's your take on Giordano Bruno? He, of course, the guy who was killed so brutally by the Catholic Church in Campo dei Fiori in Rome.
My mother's last name was Bruno. She was from Genoa, Italy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm another Bruno.
You are another Bruno.
I'm another Bruno. I'm saying the same thing he did, but I came to the conclusion by myself and on my own. It was only after I have understood what I was doing that I heard about Giordano Bruno. But my mother was Bruno. That was her name.
So there is some kind of link there by the DNA. Now, what do you believe?
Well, I don't know, but I am Italian, and I'm talking the same thing he did. I don't know.
Ciao bambino, ti amo.
Vabbè.
Mangiamo la pizza. Giordano Maxi.
Giordano Maxwell, you're also partly Irish, though.
Yes, and the reason why is because that was not my birth name. That was a name that was given to me in Hollywood a long time ago.
The name Giordano Maxwell.
When I first started going public,
okay,
I met some very important people in Hollywood who produced television shows and documentaries, and I caught their attention, and they called me and said, "Come to see me. I want to talk to you." And they said, "You know, the things you're talking about make sense. I think I want to make a movie about you. I think I want to make a television show about you." I said, "I don't care. I'm just doing what I do. If you want to make a movie, fine. I don't care." And so they decided they were going to make a television series on me. And so the producer got what the executive producer pays for the thing. He pays the bill, is the executive producer. The producer actually produces the show, makes it work. And then you have to get the director and all the other people. Well, when they got together, the executive producer with the producer, and they're talking about what they want to do with me and what they want to do with the television series to promote my work and promote what I'm saying.
Then the name Giordano's Maximus comes to mind.
That's exactly what happened. I didn't come up with that, and they came up with that, and they didn't know anything about Helena Blavatsky. Nothing. They never heard of her, didn't know nothing that she ever lived.
By pure coincidence, they liked this name, and they suggested without having any link to the Theosophical Society.
None, zero.
But you understand that today this is very controversial, because people would just say, he's not saying the truth. He is actually using a name that is linked to Blavatsky.
But, however, when you go back to the original, I'm the one that told the world. I'm the one that went out on my website and I told the world about Helena Blavatsky, and she happened to mention a man named Jordanos Maximus. I'm the one that said that. This was many years ago when I first got my website. It was back in 1998 when I got my website, and I said, you know, it was interesting because I said on the air, a rabbi sent me an email, and he said, "Jordan, do you know that there was a woman called Helena Blavatsky who prophesied that there would be a man called Jordanos Maximus, and he would be flowing information to the world?" Did you know? Did you know that? And I said, "No, I never heard of that. Who was this?" He said, "Helena Blavatsky." And he sent me the link. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. Helena Blavatsky back in the 1880s prophesied there would be a man called Jordanos Maximus who would expose religion and government. Wow. And so I called my producer and I said, "Did you know this?" He said, "I don't know what you're talking about." And I said, "Well, where did you get my name?" Because he's the one that gave me my name. Mm-hmm. And the way I got my name is when the first TV show he produced was over and it was done and it was ready to go on TV. He sent me a copy of it so I could sit and watch it. And I'm watching my work on his show, and he introduces me as Jordanos Maximus. And so when he can't see Leo because of the pictures.
Yes, guys, just
he's buffering. He's just buffering.
Yeah.
Glitch.
So I said to my producer, "Where did you get that name?" Because I know it. Jordanos Maximus was, Helena Blavatsky. And I asked my producer, "Where did you get that name?" He said, "I don't know. We just thought it up." I just had some people in the producer, the executive producer, he thought Jordan sounds like a good name. And I said Maximus because I thought maximum means Maximus. And he says, so we came up with the idea, Jordanus Maximus. That's how we got it. I don't know.
There is never coincidences. I guess it's all part of this synchronicity of events, because like you said, it was prophesied in a way, no? And of course, you have been the messenger, at least of a different way of perceiving the reality of governments, the reality of religions. You might not, people don't necessarily have to agree with you. I'm saying that also to our viewers, to people who are listening to us, but definitely they have to take their hats off when it comes down to the fact that you have really worked for years in depth in search of these truths, and you have been a pioneer. Whatever people might think about you, you have been a pioneer. And unfortunately, in today's world here in the West, a pioneer like you doesn't really get the respect he deserves, because this is a result of, I guess.
But Jesus, the Bible has Jesus saying a prophet is not appreciated in his own home.
Yeah, they say that in Italy too. Is a saying, "Nessuno profeta in patria." It comes from an old Latin say. Yes.
Yeah.
You're not a prophet in
why
your own
is
land.
because people know you, and when people know you, well, where did you come off of being a prophet? You're not a prophet. You're just the old man. You're just an old man. And I say, oh yeah, well, when I die, you tell that to God. You tell that when you leave here. You tell God, the one that you sent, yeah, he's just an old man. We don't give a shit about him. Tell God that. Because I do what I do because I have always done it. I do it because I believe in what I'm doing is right to help people educate themselves. And ultimately, I believe, I don't know, but I believe that ultimately there will come a day when I'm gone that all of a sudden people around the world are going to say, wait a minute, this is the stuff that Jordan Maxwell was talking about. And Jordan said this, and that's what we have today. And Jordan said this was going to happen, that's what happened. And it looks like Jordan Maxwell.
What do you think is going to happen after 2020? Because here there's a lot of talks about the possibility of impeachment, but of course we know that is a farce. But in the end, if they remove Trump, of course we're going towards a civil war.
Hang on, guys. Leo, hang on. We got a message. We got a message from the man himself about impeachment, about the demon rats. Jordan, have a sip of water, clear your throat, and hold your horses here. He has something to say here. Hang on.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. God bless you. And God bless America.
Did you get that?
Thank Colin for the moderation. Order, Jordan, don't worry.
He's so hard, man. I just saw Jordan there just struggling, man, with for a sip of water.
Actually, as you are now talking yourself, and our viewers, they know you from past shows with me. You are a Spaniard. What's happening at the moment in Barcelona? Because the situation is very tense.
But
Yeah.
Barcelona is like the criminal Olympic Games right now, like 1990. Well, basically, you got a bunch of people, a bunch of thugs. They want to become independent. It's like, for example, you are living in a community. You're living in blocks of apartments or something, and then there's like 2 or 3 people. They just decide to break up from from that building. You know what I mean? And they just say, well, we want to declare independence from the community. We don't want to pay any expenses because we pay too much. We want to use the elevator, but we don't want to pay. We want to put the trash right outside in the garbage can, but we don't want to pay for that because it's too expensive and we make a lot of money.
Barcelona is really guided by the left house. I mean, it's in the hands.
Yeah. It's like communist. I mean, they don't want to distribute the money or share the money with the rest of Spain. However, they want to live in a socialist, communist little, Mickey Mouse, Catalonia or
Well, you
something.
take care of me. You take care of me. We don't care about the rest of the people.
Well,
I know.
How can
But it's never been, Catalonia's never been a sovereign state. It was part of Aragon. It's a bit like the, Tuscany, Liguria, the Liga Nord kind of, conundrum.
Break from the rest of it. Let me, Jordan, how people can contribute to your well-being, Jordan, because I know that you live there in Flagstaff in a beautiful surrounding, because I've been there recently, and I must admit it's a beautiful place. But you are living in kind of precarious conditions, and people should be helping you, maybe buying your books or sending you donations. Where they can do that, Jordan?
If you go on my website, it's the only thing I have. The only
I'm gonna put it up.
income is go on my website, Jordan Maxwell Show, SHOW. And the reason I emphasize add the word show, Jordan Maxwell Show, is my website. Why? Because there are other websites out there that have my name on them, but they're not mine. People are using my name to make money because they know people listen to me and people trust me. And so they use my name on their website. And so people think they're supporting me when they go to those websites with my name on it, but it's not mine. Other people are using my name to make money. My website is Jordan Maxwell Show.
Yeah, we
If
have it
you
right
go
here.
on
I don't know
there-
if you can pull it out. Can you pull it out, Leo, from there?
Yes, here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there it is, right there, jordanmaxwellshow.com. That's me. And up there, you will see where the cursor is now. It says join the Jordan Maxwell Research website. The research website is a very big website I have that you can get off of my Jordan Maxwell Show. You go to the Jordan Maxwell Show, and you can join my research website, which has all of the documents, all of the pictures, all of the lectures, all of the research documents and papers, and all the stuff that I've been talking about for years. It's all there for you to read yourself. And go back and go and read all of that. It's on my research society. It's on my research website. It's got all of the stuff I talk about and showing you the documents where I get this idea from, where I'm getting my ideas from. And I've got lots and lots of audio lectures on my research website. I got video lectures on my research. I got books, free books, documents, pictures, photographs,
And
all kinds of information.
let's remind all our viewers about this historic event that is taking place next year in Nevada, in a city called Loveland. What is the name of the place?
It's called Laughlin. It's about 50 miles south of Las Vegas. So if you fly into Las Vegas, you got to rent a car and drive south for about 50 miles to a beautiful little town on the Colorado River. It's a beautiful place.
Well, this is what it looks like when you get in. I mean, I have a passcode and everything. I'm registered. You have the vault there with many different, sections.
Yeah.
The research section is right there. You can click down and you'll see audio and video. So I want everyone to get on that website. It's only what, $20 a year or one-off fee?
No, it's only a one-time donation, just to the website. Donation one time forever. A one-time donation of $30 donation, and you get the research website for good. You got it for good. No more payments ever again. Just one-time donation. And the only reason why I do that is because I need to pay my webman, and I don't have any money. I live in one room, broke. I don't have any income. I only got my Social Security. And it's only half. I only get half of my Social Security. So you need to understand that what I do, I do with nothing.
Do you have a PayPal, Jordan?
Yes, I do. It's right on my home page of Jordan Maxwell Show. And on the right-hand side, it will say, if you'd like to donate, here's Jordan Maxwell. Click on here. There it is. It says, click here to donate to Jordan Maxwell.
Now, Jordan, while we're going towards the end of the show, I wanted to make you a critical question. What is your belief in immortality, in reincarnation?
I tend to think that there is no doubt in the phenomena that's called reincarnation. There is no doubt. all over the world, people of education, people in universities, and great and intelligent people all over the world have finally come to accept that reincarnation seems to be true. And it seems that it is actually true. But I am saying that reincarnation doesn't have to be what you think it is. You think it means that somebody lived many hundreds of years ago and came back and can tell you things today that you would never know, but they were there hundreds of years ago. I say no, not necessarily no. There's another way to view reincarnation. Maybe it wasn't you that was there hundreds of years ago. There may have been spirits. There may have been angels and spirits, what we call in Christianity demons or spirits. They may have been there hundreds of years ago. And those spirits or ghosts or demons or jinns or whatever you want to call those spirit creatures, they were there many years ago, and you've been listening to them all your life, and they've been putting stuff in your head because our brains are a computer and they are like a Wi-Fi machine, and they're sending you messages. And you think it's you that's getting those messages, that you're so smart. No, somebody is putting those ideas in your head. And so therefore the spirits who were there 500 years ago, they remember everything in detail. And so they come and they tell you in such a way you think it's you're seeing it. You were there. No, you weren't there. They were there. And they're speaking through you. You are nothing more than a channel, and they're speaking through you. And you're telling people, I was there 500 years ago, and I saw this and I saw that. And later on, we find out scientifically, you're right. That's exactly what happened. So we, being ignorant humans, we say, oh, well, he must have been reincarnated. No, he wasn't reincarnated. He was being used as a channel by the great spirits that we call the demons or the devils or the demons or the spirits or the good gods or the good spirits and the good angels or the spirit creatures that were there 500 years ago. You weren't there, but they were, and they are still here today, and now they're tricking all of us by putting it into your mouth. So you're telling us something that happened 500 years ago, and we think you were there. No, I think that the idea, which is we call reincarnation, is true, because there are people who can tell you things that happened 500 to 1,000 years ago, and it's true that they were right, but that doesn't mean they were there. I think it implies that maybe spirits were there. And we know about the spirits in the Bible, and the spirits and the angels that were there thousands of years ago. Maybe they're still here, and they're still doing to us what they've always done to the human race. They're screwing us up. We're mentally deranged, causing us to kill each other, kill our children, murder each other, drugs, alcoholism, all of the corruption and all the evil. And all around the world, people feel that there's something going on spiritually with the human race. We are very, very bad off. We need to get our lives in tune with God. So I think that there has been something actually, in fact, true about things that people have told us who happened in the past that we didn't know. But it doesn't mean they were there. It means somebody was there, and they're putting it into your head to tell us. And we're so stupid, we think you were there. No, you weren't there. But somebody's using you to tell us what was something.
In reality, your belief in reincarnation is that our soul is immortal, but it lives different experiences in different stages.
Well, that means that if it was your soul, that still means it's you. And you were there. I'm saying no, your immortal soul is a spirit.
Okay. And the spirit.
And if it's a spirit, maybe there are other spirits. We know that the Bible talks about demons and angels and devils and spirit creatures and evil one from the dark side. Well, maybe they were there 1,000 years ago, not you. And they were there and they saw something and they're telling you to tell us. So when we hear you, we go back and check and see what you're saying, and we find out you're right. Well, obviously, if you're right, it's because you were there. No, you weren't there. We're being misled. The Bible says we will be misled by spirits and demons. Well, we are being misled. We call it religions and churches and synagogues and all kinds of silly, nonsensical stuff that humans
You
have.
believe in evil and in the existence of Satan and his legion, Jordan?
Yes, I believe that's part of the biggest part of the satanic presence on the earth is religion. I think everybody knows that by now. The Catholic Church, the Center for Christianity, with all of the raping of children and boys, and they have altar boys that they're putting on the altar to sacrifice, and all of the pedophile stuff that's going on in the priesthoods, all of the other corruption in the not just. Yeah, I see that. It's not just the Catholic Church. No, it's all the religions, Jehovah's Witnesses, the Mormons, Seventh-day Adventists. It's all everywhere. You can see the whole thing of pedophilia and child pornography and all that is in the whole world. Politics, politicians, presidents and kings and rulers.
Do you believe they want to really place ultimately an antichrist on this earth, ruling this whole show?
Do I believe again what?
They are preparing the stage for an antichrist, for
Yes.
something that could then lead the masses into this AI-driven nightmare.
Yes, yes,
And
I do.
part of it would be the enslavement of mankind.
Right. Now, let me tell you something I wanted you to know. I've said this before, but not many times. It was important for me to tell you. When I was growing up as a child, my mother used to tell me all the time. She was from Italy, and she would tell me all the time, "You are from my family, and my family go back hundreds of years." And my family were called Carroll, Carroll.
Virginia, Maryland.
You are a Carroll. You're from my family. And my family, the Carrolls, were in Massachusetts. They were in Washington, D.C. They were on the East Coast.
Jesuits, though, they were also involved with the dark side of history in a way. No,
That's right.
like
And so
pioneers, I guess, of the Catholic Church.
and she would tell me, my ancestor is your ancestor. And my ancestor was John C. Carroll. And she used to say that to me all the time.
Well,
And
actually,
then she would say to me, don't ever forget that. John C. Carroll is your ancestor. And you remember that in your life. You don't ever forget that.
we
Well,
might
as a
relative of yours who works with me, because I have a guy called John Barnwell who is used to be the manager of Mayflower Bookshop, and he contacted with me the Real Zagami show on a Saturday morning, and he told me that also he's related to the Carroll family. So I mean, it seems that you might be somehow cousins or related in some way.
very possible.
Very
Because stranger things have happened and God works in strange ways, and you never know why it is I, in my blood, devoted 60 years of my life to understanding the occult world of government and religion and how the world works and what is the right way to set up a government. What's the wrong way?
Countdown here of the conspiracy world / the truth movement, and your views on all these characters, which I'm gonna drop their names, and you can just of course, we want to be the home of controversy, but we also want to leave a testimony of your views of this.
Well, I just know that my mother was always telling me about her family was a John C. Carroll. Well, it wasn't until 1999 to 2000 I picked up a book called Rulers of Evil by Tupper Saucy. Rulers of Evil by Tupper Saucy. And he said in his book, he was explaining how the United States was actually founded. And he said the man who put up the money and gave the money to George Washington to fight the American Revolution, the man who financed George Washington and the American Revolution was a man named John C. Carroll.
So you're basically in the natural treasure kind of scenario.
When I heard that, I thought my mother
Nicolas
told me
Cage.
she was from John C. Carroll. And here
Jordan
he is saying in
Maxwell.
the book, John C. Carroll was a millionaire in the 13 colonies. He was not just a wealthy man, he was the most wealthiest man in all of the 13 colonies. He was a millionaire back then
But
in the
let
13 colonies.
Jordan, let me bring you back to the hic et nunc, the here and now, as the Latin like to say this word sometimes, hic et nunc. Now, like I said, you have been inspirational for a whole movement, and I wanted to just have your points of view quickly on some figures.
Yeah.
Start with David Icke. What is your point of view on David Icke?
On what?
Your point of view
David
on
Icke. David Icke.
David Icke, I brought to America. Are you well aware of that? In 1992, I called David Icke and brought him over to the United States. I brought him here back in 1992, 93. And I brought him to San Diego, and I financed him to travel around the world to give lectures. I financed his books. I financed him to get him on radio. I promoted him. I go out and give lectures and talk about him and tell people to listen to him. So I made him famous. And today, David Icke is very famous, and he's done a very good job of exposing all the world dirty, all the dirty stuff going on in the world. I knew he would. That's why I promoted him. I wanted him to be out there talking to the people like me, because I knew I can't do it by myself. I need some younger people to help me. So I got David Icke, and he wanted to do it, so I financed him, and I made him famous. I like David Icke. I really like him, and I think he's very intelligent, a very interesting man. He's not God. That doesn't mean that he knows everything in the whole world, but I am impressed with him. He is very intelligent, and he's very prolific. He writes a lot of books and does lectures and all kinds of wonderful things around the world to educate the people of the world. That's all I want to do, is just educate people to think for themselves. That's all. I'm not saying that I have to be absolutely right. All I want to do is, if I feel strongly enough about something, that I think I know something that other people don't know, I want to be able to talk to people and tell them my point of view, because maybe I'm right. And I used to do lectures, public lectures, in Los Angeles with the movie star Steve Allen. Steve Allen at one time was a very, very big name in Hollywood. And Steve and I used to do lectures in UCLA and USC and the big universities. And he and I wrote a book together. And when I was at the big university speaking before large audiences of college students and teachers, Steve Allen would introduce me. And he would say, because he was such a wonderful gentleman, he would say, because I was always scared to death. I mean, I'm on the platform in front of hundreds of people who were academics, college graduates, and I'm just a little old guy doing what I do. But Steve Allen would do for about an hour. He would talk for about an hour, then he'd introduce me. But he would always say to the audience, Jordan and I have different opinions. I think one thing sometimes, and sometimes he thinks another. We have different opinions. But it doesn't mean I'm right just because I have a different opinion. Maybe he's right, and maybe I'm wrong. So that's why I listen to what he says. I go back and I read and study what he's talking about. Sometimes I see maybe I'm wrong, maybe he's right. I thought that was very nice of him.
Absolutely. I think that it's great that you actually brought up his name today, Jordan, also in remembrance of his work.
Yeah, well, I just felt that, he didn't have to do that, but he did it for me, saying to the audience that maybe Jordan is right, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I need to go back and study. And
Now,
so I thought that was very nice of him to do that.
can I ask you another question? What do you think of the late Milton William Cooper?
William Cooper, I knew William Cooper. You're talking about the man who was killed?
Yes.
Yeah, William Cooper, I knew him well, but I have to tell you, because I knew him well, I've been on his show. I went to see him. I did radio shows with him in Mesa, Arizona. I knew him well. I never saw him draw a sober breath. I think he was probably a confirmed alcoholic. I was there. I saw it. He was always smelling of alcohol. He always smelled like he had been drinking. And he always acted like it. He was very, very problem. His main problem was he drank too much, alcoholic. But when he got drunk, he got mean. He started fights. He didn't mind fighting in a bar. He didn't mind calling people out in the street, because when he was drinking, he was very, very mad, very angry.
I can understand the kind of guy, but what about his book, Behold a Pale Horse? Did you ever read it or had opinions on it?
Yep. I think he had some very good observations in there, but I don't think he understood theologically the kind of things I was talking about, because he would interview me on his radio shows, and then he would hear what I thought, and it wasn't what he believed. And so he had the problem of trying to explain, well, that's Jordan Maxwell's idea. That's his thinking. But my feeling was that, don't throw what I'm saying out with the bathwater. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I may be right. I could be right on what I'm saying. And if I am, it would mean that the whole world is wrong. People who have taken their religious beliefs and believe that they know what they're talking about, I don't think they do. I don't think the religious people of this world know what they're talking about.
You agree that he died because he was killed? I mean,
Yeah, of course he was, of course. But I also know he was drinking heavy that day. And when you're drinking, and when you're an alcoholic and you're drinking and you got a bad temper when you drink, and everybody knew that, everybody knew him, knew that don't be around him if he's drinking, because he's mad. And he doesn't mind picking a fight with you right in the middle of no matter where he was, he'd pick a fight with you right then and there. So you're going to have to fight him. You better go outside. You're going to have to fight him, because that's who he is. He's a military guy. He's a military man. He likes drinking, and he don't mind street fighting. And so he did some things in Snowflake, Arizona, where he lived. There were some young kids coming, would cross his property. Young kids going home. They didn't go down the sidewalk in the street to go home. They would cut through his property to go home the short way. And he would go out there with a gun and threaten the kids, get off the property, I'll shoot you. And so the kids reported that to the police, that this man was out there with a shotgun, with a rifle, and was going to shoot them. And so the cops had heard him all the time. They hear about him picking fights and him drinking on public. So they had enough of him. So they went out to his house, from what I was told. They went out to his house and they provoked him. They provoked him to come with a gun. They wanted him to come out with a gun. Bring your gun out and come out here. And so the cops were provoking him to come out. And from what I hear, they shot his dog. His dog was the only thing he had left in the world. He loved his dog, but he was an alcoholic street fighter. And so when they shot his dog, that was the last straw. He went crazy. and because he had been drinking to start with, and he was a street fighter to start with. You shoot his dog, and now you've got a fight. Now you've got a fight. And so when he came at them, and from what I hear, he fired the first shot at the human. They shot the dog with. He shot them, and his was the first shot, and that's what they wanted. They wanted him to shoot up. They set him up.
Just set him up. Thank you.
They knew he was an alcoholic. They knew he would go crazy. They knew if they shot his dog, they'd have to shoot him too. They knew that. So that's what they did. They set him up. And so when you hear that the law and the government killed him, well, that's true. I mean, it was the police department.
Some problems inherent to the guy. Let me ask you another question here. Yeah. What do you think about the late Jim Marrs?
Jim Marrs was a dear friend of mine. I used to sit in a hotel room with him when he was giving lectures, and I was too. I was speaking at the same conferences, and afterwards we'd go out and have a beer, and then we'd go to his bedroom, and I'd sit up there for hours and chit-chat with him and talk with him about all kinds of things, and he would tell me stuff I'd tell him. I loved Jim Marrs. He was a brilliant and wonderful man. The only thing I would say publicly about Jim Marrs, because I loved him as he was such an incredibly intelligent guy, is that all the things he talked about that made him famous, I talked about 60 years ago. He talked about the Illuminati and the Fourth Reich of the Nazis. I was talking about that back in 1960 and 61 and 62 before John Kennedy was assassinated. I was talking about the Fourth Reich and the Illuminati. I was talking about that in 1967. So as far as I was concerned, I loved Jim Marrs. He was a dear friend. He was brilliant in his work, and he was very, very prolific as a book writer. The only thing I would say is that all the things he was talking about, I was talking about 40 years before.
Okay, so you kind of set him in motion, but he was following on some of your leads. What do you think instead of Anthony J. Alder?
Anthony Hilder was a very, very good friend, but I always suspected something about Anthony Hilder. I was very close to Anthony Hilder. He and I gave lectures together on television. A very big video was done on Anthony Hilder and myself called Lucifer 2000. There was a church, a very large church in Los Angeles, south of Los Angeles in Orange County. It was a big Christian church, and they invited Anthony Hilder and myself to come down to the church and to talk about our work together, about the Illuminati and secret societies, etc. So Anthony and I went down and we did this 2-hour television show. And it was sold all over the world, and it got the biggest reception I have ever imagined. I got over 100,000 letters from people all over the world, 100,000 letters, and boxes of letters from all over the world, handwritten letters. People telling me, Jordan, we saw you and Anthony Hilder. It was sensational. We love what you're talking about. Show us some more. And so Anthony and I, we did a lot of shows together. Lucifer 2000 was our first big show together. When that went all over the world. And after that, we started doing a lot of shows and speaking together. But toward the end, I decided to move away from Anthony Hilder because he would say things and do things that I was not happy about. So I figured I'll just let Anthony do what he wants to do, and I'll do what I want to do.
And tell us the experience about Anthony Norio sightseeing. You were at the desert or something, and you actually had a sighting of a UFO, right, Jordan?
Oh, well, yeah, we used to go up to Area 51, Anthony and I, and give lectures. We would go up and give talks up at the Area 51. Not in the base. You couldn't go in the base, but we went to a little town outside the base. It's called Rachel, Nevada.
Jordan being Rachel before everybody else.
And so I used to go up to Rachel back in 1991, 92, 93, we would go up to Rachel, Anthony Hilder, and I, and we would give lectures about UFOs and aliens and all kinds of strange stuff that we would talk about. So, yeah, I knew Anthony. He was a good friend. He's now gone. He's passed away. He's gone.
Yeah, recently. Let me ask you, what you think instead of our common friend Alex Jones? I mean, I'm listing everybody here, so I'm like, at the end of the show, I need to this other question.
And Alex Jones, as far as I'm concerned, was a very, very brave man. He did things other men did not do. He went out and actually went and busted into the was it the
Bohemian Grove.
the Bohemian Grove. I wouldn't do that. The other people I know, a big mouth, but they wouldn't do that. But he did. Alex Jones was a very brave man. He'd confront the big guys and confront them and call them out and expose them who they are and what they're doing. And he was always fighting for truth and for defending America. So as far as I'm concerned, he was a very, very brave and wonderful man.
He is. He still is, because he's during a battle that is not easy. I mean, he's being really grilled on the judiciary for having stand against the system.
Yeah, you're right. And so I have the highest of admiration and respect for him. I've done his show before. 2 or 3 times I was on his show. The last time I was on his show, Alex Jones said to me on the air, he said, "Jordan, I'd like to have you on my show once a week. Maybe you come on for like 15 minutes every Friday and give us whatever new thing you've got, because I think you are very important and I think we would love to hear from you every week." And I said, "Well, thank you. I appreciate that." And so we were supposed to do that, but it never happened. And then I got emails from him saying, "Jordan, I want to come to visit you. I want to get on a plane and fly from Texas to Arizona and come visit you and help you do what you're doing and see what I can do to help you." And I said, "That would be wonderful if you did that." But that never happened because he got too busy, and so
He has really a lot on his plate and a lot of problems that are really making it very difficult for him to even carry on this operation. But
no doubt about it. Yep, and that's right. And that's why I didn't mind if he couldn't make it. He couldn't make it, but at least he wanted to, and at least I had a chance to talk to him. So I wish I could get on his show again now. And I've talked to his producer. I've talked to the people in his office, and I said, ask Alex to let me come on the show. And they said, "Oh, absolutely. Alex just loves you. He loves to have you on the show." I said, "Well, then why don't you go on my website, email me, and I'll call you back and let's do the show." And he said, "Oh, no doubt about it. That's what we'll do. No doubt about it." I never got any phone calls from nobody.
We will try to make it happen before next year, also because you are really giving an historical speech in Nevada, and some of your latest findings involved in it. What can you just give us a little brief?
Yesterday, I was listening to YouTube, young guy saying, "Alex used to say there was a new world order. I choose not to believe it. I don't want to believe it. It doesn't exist. I choose." I heard all these radio shows with callers. I'd flip channels and I'd come into work and it was other shows saying, "I don't want to hear bad news anymore." They don't understand.
This is with Jordan,
and deal with it,
2008.
you can have a good place to live in. And
second time around.
Saying we love terror attacks. They sure help us. And minds poisoning everybody, poisoning. I bet that isn't even a policy.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He has a badge, and therefore he is in charge. Same thing at the airports. People at the airports and airport security have never had a job.
I tell you what. Let's talk about that. Here we go.
Man, I thought I was bad moderating, but Alex is just barging in all the time, huh?
Definitely, it's good that we have discussed today your testimony on all these figures that have all had their important contribution in this day and age.
Well, Leo, I'm of the old school. I'm 80 years old. I don't fit well in the new genre, the new technology. I don't fit well with all of that. I'm of the old school. I don't even know how to plug a computer in. I've had young people explain to me how to read the email, how to do this and that, and I got a computer. But I'm of the old school. I'm just looking at the life for what it really is. And I've been all over the world and had experiences that nobody knows that I have. I've been in the company of some of the most powerful people in this world, some of the most incredible criminals of this world, mafiosis, gangsters, politicians, astronauts, physicists, scientists. I've been all over the world and been in the company of some of the most powerful and strangest people you will ever know, you will ever want to meet. And
Now,
so what I'm trying to do is just open my knowledge up to all the people listening without telling them too much. There's certain things I can't tell, obviously, but there are many things I want people to be aware of. That many things they believe about the world they live in is not true.
now, some people are asking us here on the board some questions, so I'm just going to deliver you a couple before we close here because I know
Yeah.
the man. They're asking me in particular about time travel. Have you ever discovered any evidence of such thing existing?
That kind of science, I think exists. I think it's very legitimate. I don't know too much about it, but my gut tells me there's something to it because of my own personal experiences. I've had way too many personal experiences that I was there when it happened, and I know how incredible those experiences were, and so I'm smart enough to know if there were really incredible experiences that frightened me and scared me to death and things which I couldn't understand. Don't be too quick to say something is wrong. I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I don't understand the flat earth. I don't understand it. I don't believe
No,
it.
flat earthers. No, no, no way, Jose. Please
No, no,
do not
no.
mention that word, Jordan, anymore.
No,
No.
the thing is that Jordan is very right, and I have been saying it for years. How can we say the earth is flat when the Vatican was killing people until 5 centuries ago for saying that the earth wasn't flat? So
Some bricks are flat, man.
I mean, of course, this is though a good point. Somebody's asking me, Jordan, please tell us your
That's
opinion
flat earth for you.
of the apocalypse. What's your opinion and vision of the apocalypse, Jordan?
What's my opinion of the conference?
Of the
No,
apocalypse.
the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Apocalypse.
Oh, the apocalypse, I think, is
End times.
nothing more than a story that has been dreamt up by the Knights Templars. The Masonic Order of Knights Templars have come up with the idea for all kinds of things which are believed today, but people don't know where it's come from. We talk about the end of the world. No, it's not the end of the world. It's an end of an aeon. The Greek word for an age is the end of an age, Piscean age. Pisces was the symbol of two fish. And if you remember, about 10 years ago, Israel came out with a new article in the paper that the oldest Christian church ever erected on the earth, the oldest Christian church they had ever heard of, was found in Israel, in Megiddo, Israel. And they said that the government was going to build a big prison in Megiddo. And so they sent the construction crew down, and they were going to dig down and put the foundations for a new prison. And when they built where the construction companies started to dig into the ground to lay the foundations, they discovered a church. They discovered the floor of a church and the walls, and they discovered there was a church buried there in Megiddo. And so just by chance, they happened to discover the oldest church ever found on the earth. And Israel said it was the oldest Christian establishment ever. And the United States and England, everybody agreed.
Zachariah Sitchin talked about it.
Yeah. But what did they find in that oldest church? The oldest church ever built by Christians in Israel, in the area called Megiddo, what did they find on the floor of that church? They found the zodiac, the 12 signs of the zodiac, and in the middle they found the two fish of Pisces. The two fish of Pisces. Pisces was a sign of the zodiac. So if you go back to what Israel called the oldest church ever built on the earth, you will find the 12 signs of the zodiac with the two fish of Pisces. That's what the Christians, original Christians, were into, the worship of the zodiac. Now, let me explain to you. When we hear the word God, when Jesus said, when you pray, today we call it the Lord's Prayer. The Lord's Prayer is not the Lord's Prayer. The Lord's Prayer is what the Lord told you to pray. Not him. He's not praying it. He said, when you pray, not me. When you pray this way. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Let thy kingdom come, and let thy will be done on the earth as it is in heaven. I'm thinking, wait a minute, what did he just say? We humans have a way of putting all other life forms on the earth in categories. We put fish in a school. We put birds in a flock. We put cows in a herd. We put dogs in a pack. We put ants in a colony. So we humans have a history of putting all the other life forms into categories. Well, what kind of creature on the earth, what kind of life forms do we humans put in a kingdom? What kind of life forms do we humans say are in a kingdom? It's a kingdom of animals, an animal kingdom. And so then when Jesus said, pray that God's kingdom is actually a kingdom of animals, the animal kingdom. And in the ancient Greek language, the study of animals was called zoology. And so that's where you find animals today, is in a zoo. Zoology is, the word zoo was associated with animals. And so the animal kingdom is in the zodiac. Z-O, zodiac. Zodiac is the
So
zoo.
what about the Bigfoot? Because I mean, I'm seeing comments showing a Bigfoot. So what's your
I believe that Bigfoot actually exists because I had a brush with Bigfoot. I know he exists because I was there. I had a brush with him. No doubt in my mind that Bigfoot exists because I was there.
Sure.
What I saw and what I experienced, I know Bigfoot exists.
Here in the Leo Zagami show, you're breaking this news that you had an encounter with Bigfoot.
Yeah. He said it on my show. I got actually a video with a lot of encounters, and Jordan talks a lot of things paranormal. I don't remember what the video is titled like. You just go to Colin Rivers show, and you'll see you look up on the search button and put Jordan, and there's a whole video, 1 hour 90 minutes, and he talks about even little tiny beings. I think, Jordan, you talk about, like little tiny beings coming to a pool, or there's some dog and some guy. It's very interesting. Tell us about that before we can
my publisher was a friend of mine down in San Diego, and his name is Paul Tice, and his company is called The Book Tree. The Book Tree Publishing publishes all kinds of strange books, because I'm the one that got him started reading all these strange books. And so he wanted to be a publisher. So I helped him become a publisher. And so Paul Tice is the owner of the publisher called The Book Tree. And he used to tell me about all of his strange things that happened to him. He and I would get together and have dinner, and we would tell each other all of our stories. I'd tell him all about stuff that happened to me. He would tell me about his strange experiences. And he told me about the time, because he was born and raised back in Massachusetts on the East Coast. And he said one morning he used to have his little dog sleep on his bed in his bedroom. And he said, and one morning the dog started growling, very low growl. And you could tell that the dog was frightened of something. And he said, normally the dog would run out to whatever it was he was upset about. But he didn't run at all. He laid on the bed and was growling and looking at the bedroom window. And so Paul, my publisher down in San Diego, he said, I went over to the window as a little kid, and I opened up the blind just a little bit so I could see if there was something out there. And he said, I didn't want them to see me. So I opened up the blind a little bit, and I saw a flying saucer. It was about 2 foot across, 2.5 foot across. It had glass on the perimeter. It had glass. And people were walking around inside, little tiny people. I could see them. They're walking around inside the saucer. And he said, and it had a straw from the bottom of the saucer going into my little pool. I had a little plastic pool outside, and they were sucking up water into the saucer, taking up water. And so I know that water can be transposed into, they can take from water the hydrogen or whatever and use it as a fuel,
energy fuel.
Yeah. And he says, so I sat there and I watched this saucer and these people inside walking around, and they were looking out because there was a glass perimeter, and they were walking around looking out. And he said, I could not believe it. A little tiny saucer.
How are we gonna find you in your next reincarnation?
Oh my God,
Are you gonna give some signs as a little of your future office in some other body, Jordan?
Trippy show today, Leo. I like it, man. I start to like these kind of how do you call these?
I love talking with both of you. I love talking with both of you.
Oh, you too, man.
I love talking with Leo because he's not only very, very bright, very well read, experienced, and I understand an older man and his experience. I know what that means. It's very important. He's not just talking about something he heard. No, he was there. And so if he's saying something, you need to listen because he might be right.
Yeah. Leo is very knowledgeable. The format, I was saying, I like this kind of new Leo show format, Leo Zagami show, trippy format. You know,
yeah.
To push the boundaries, and I think that today we have left an important testimony of Jordan's work, of Jordan's life. I think that Jordan is still probably gonna give us more surprises in the coming year during this.
I will try very hard to give you something you've never heard before. When I do my last big speech, I believe it's going to be my last. Maybe not. Maybe I'll
Jordan, hang in there, man. 10 more speeches, man. No.
In Laughlin, however you say
Laughlin. Yeah, Laughlin, Nevada. It's about 50 miles
from the Loch Ness. The Loch Ness is Scotland.
Yeah, it's going to be
William Wallace. Freedom for my people.
Between the 15
It's Laughlin, Nevada, about 50 miles south of Las Vegas.
Yes, and
freedom, Jordan, freedom. Let's look for freedom, Leo.
Colin, we actually put the link on the comment board, so maybe you can check out yourself this great event, and maybe you can come and visit us.
Man, I feel like you're the master, I'm the slave here, man. But I like this new format. You being the master and me being the slave. It's no problem.
Colin, where are you now? Because you're always changing country. I was announcing.
I know. I always have to change towns, and the reason why I'm always different place is because I am broke. I have no money, and I am homeless. I have no family. I have no place to live. I'm totally homeless, and I have no place to go and no place to live. So I find myself today living in one little room. This was nothing more than a tool shed out behind my friend's home. He invited me to come to live with him when I told him I have no place to live and no money. And he said, come live with me. And so I live with him and his wife, and I have my own bedroom in the home, and he gave me his tool shed. And we painted it, we put carpet on the floor, and I work on it to make it livable. So I have my little office here and a tool shed behind the home, and my friend takes care of me and looks after me and gives me a place to live. And so I'm happy. I live in a nice place and I live here with my friends. But I am getting old and I don't like traveling, and I'm getting old and I feel it. I'm getting to be 80, but I feel like 180.
Well,
And so,
Jordan, you wanna come here to Portugal? You're welcome, man. You teleport yourself, or just go swim across the Atlantic Ocean, man. You know, you got a home here. Got a lot of flags here.
I will
Got
ride my
Italian
bicycle.
flags, got American flags, Spanish flags. I got Portuguese flags. I got the king of England living close by. You told me, you know.
That's
He
right.
doesn't want to talk to me though.
but what about the King of Spain, Golin? I mean, he has also very important.
The king of Spain is a playboy.
Well,
He likes girls too much. He doesn't like men. You know,
No,
he's
no,
not the LGTB type.
Okay.
He's more like a macho
for
man.
sure.
Are you aware that the King of Spain is also the King of Jerusalem?
Man, I'm just getting freaked out here by Jordan. He always has something coming up, like scary stuff. He's like, "Do you know that your neighbor is the devil?
That's right.
He's a
And look at-
demon. He's a reptilian, man, and you can't tell."
Well, also because the Kingdom of Spain was definitely a very important tool in the hands of the Vatican. We know.
Oh, of course. And he is the King of Jerusalem. You look up King of Jerusalem, it will tell you the King of Spain, Juan Carlos, is the King of Jerusalem. How come Juan Carlos and the King of Spain is also the King of Jerusalem? Why?
Carlitos way.
Jordan,
Carlitos way.
as we are ending this show, what will be your title? How you would like to be remembered?
I'd like to be remembered as a normal, regular man pursuing extraordinary knowledge. I'm just an ordinary man, but I love wisdom and knowledge and understanding and researching and studying and asking questions and talking to great men like yourself. That's what I love about life, is to learn, and I've spent my whole life studying and reading and traveling to meet people. And so that's the way I'd like to be remembered, as just an ordinary man pursuing extraordinary knowledge.
Leo, show the mega event there, the Nevada thing. I just put it there. Can you put it up on the screen so they can check it out and go and visit
This is
the
going to be a place where Jordan Maxwell conduct his last speech on this planet and in this existence. Of
It very well might be. Who
Well,
knows? Who knows? I may live another 30 years and get my strength back and do all kinds of things. But for now,
yeah,
I
baby.
feel like this is going to be my last one. But I don't know what God has in mind. I don't know what tomorrow will bring. I don't know. Maybe I'll be around for another 20 years. Who knows?
We hope so, and we
If only, man. I wish, dude.
I just try and do the best I can to be
Right on.
controversial, so people will listen to me and they will question my mentality. They will question what I'm saying. And then if you want to question me and you want to know where is this guy getting all this crazy stuff he talks about, go on my website to Jordan Maxwell Show and join my research website. Click on it and join the research website. And it will take you to all kinds of documents, pictures, audio, video, books, where to go for this, where to look for that, who to talk to, and here's the expert on this, and who's the expert on that, and what did the documents say, and what all the hidden all the hidden stuff that you've never been told before. I put it all on my research website. And so it will help me immensely if people would just go on my website and join my research website, because it's only a one-time contribution to the website, but I also am able to keep my website going if people keep joining, so I can pay my bills to keep
Jordan
my
Maxwell Show.com. Jordan Maxwell Show, SHOW.com.
You are preparing something special for next year, but are you also working on a new book? Because I know you're always keeping yourself busy.
Yeah, I am. I've got a new book coming out soon.
Are you
And
preparing a title, or are you still work in progress on that one?
Still work in progress.
Okay, we will keep it then disclosed for the moment.
And Jordan, are you going to try to vote for Uncle Don, or you just going to refrain from voting?
I have never in my entire life ever voted for anything, period. Nothing. When I was in the 5th grade, they would have people, they wanted to have all the kids vote to see who they liked best teacher. I never voted for anything in my entire life. I never knew why.
But it's just you're lazy to register to the college and stuff, or just like, because we have to support. We have to make America great again. We have to keep America great, you know? I mean, actually, we have a message, and we're going to be closing down, Leo. We have a message that is being approved by our Supreme Leader, Donald J. Trump. Uncle Don, what do you say? What do you have to say? Jordan is right there in Arizona.
From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
Oh, yeah, baby. It's going to be America and aliens first, baby.
Thank you so much, Jordan. You are definitely always welcomed, and I hope that this show stays in the history of all shows as a testimony of your work.
I hope so, because I love being on the show with you, Leo.
And we speak soon on the phone. I want to give you a phone call every now and then to check how you are.
Are you going to be at the conference? Are you going to be there?
Absolutely. How can I miss that?
Well, then we need to have a dinner together, just you and I. We need to go sit someplace in the corner in a restaurant, and we could talk. And I can tell you all kinds of stories I can't tell you in public.
Hey, guys, send me some pancakes, man. Some International House of Pancakes, creamy stuff, man. UPS, I pay, man. It's just 12,000 miles.
Take care, guys. All the best. Thank you so much.
All the best.
I love you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Keep America great. Bye, Jordan.